everybody, it's Brock and we got a brand new episode of All About. This is one unique fish, the way it swims, the way it looks, how it's able to eat. This is a fun one today. Today it's going to be all about the striped shrimpfish, otherwise known as the razorfish. This fish is actually a distant relative to the seahorse and pipefish, and the care guide is going to look very similar to taking care of all three of those. The body of a razorfish is encased in this transparent bony plates that are going to provide them protection from predators in the wild. And this fish has a unique method of swimming. I mean, you can tell it's swimming in synchronized schools like a little dance in a vertical position upside down where the snout points straight down at the sand bed. So it's super cool, something you don't see every day. Now let's jump right into it. Prices for razorfish typically cost about $45 to get one. Everywhere I looked online that had them on their page, but nobody actually had them in stock. So it might be a fish that's just not caught often because a lot of people aren't interested in getting one or even know of them. Or maybe they're just getting harder to catch. This one was actually recorded at the Dallas Aquarium. It's the first time I've actually seen these in person. Tank size, I'd recommend a 75-gallon or larger. The razorfish can eventually get up to 6 inches, so if you have a school of razors in a tank, all max size, you want plenty of room for them to go around. And as you can see in the video, their dance, I mean, they can jump back and forth along the tank, so they like that big open room for them. The tank itself needs to be a very seasoned tank, and preferably a reef/macroalgae tank. You want a live rock structure that has a lot of tall caves and crevices for them to explore and hide behind when frightened. And also just give them a lot of open room towards the top of the tank. That way they can jump around like they're doing here. They are an expert level for care. This is a harder fish to acclimate to the tank setting than other fish are. There's really 3 things that are going to make it hard for this fish to acclimate to your tank. One is feeding. Feeding the shrimp fish can be very difficult, and I'd recommend having live foods ready to go once you add them to your tank. One of their favorites tends to be the live feeding shrimp that you can get. The second thing is going to be tank parameters. They need to be pristine. A spike in the tank can really hurt this fish. They're usually the first ones to perish if a mistake happens. So you want to make sure you got everything under control and you're staying on top of those water changes. The third thing is going to be tank mates. So treat them like they are a seahorse. You want really laid back fish that are going to allow them to eat when it's feeding time and also not bother them to the point that they're hiding all the time. Wrasse, triggers, aggressive tangs, they would be a no-go for the shrimp fish. They actually had a butterfly in this tank with them and a yellowtail damsel, so that really surprised me, but maybe they were just docile around them. But also, it could be the reason why they're staying so high up in the tank. Going back to our list, temper, very peaceful, super sweet fish. They just dance around the tank with their funny vertical swim patterns. It's super fun to watch a group of them swim around. But yeah, you're not going to see any aggression come from these guys. Even with a cool name as razorfish, you'd think they were the villain. Reef compatibility is definitely a yes. Highly recommend you place them in one. In the wild, the razorfish will school in large colonies of acropora and also around the seagrass. And even wilder, they'll get in between the spines of large urchins to stay protected. So it's like a clownfish swimming in their anemone to stay away from predators. Setting up your aquarium like the environment in the wild helps them so much with their acclimation into the tank. Having a lot of macroalgae in the tank will also help with the amount of zooplankton you have. And these are a big part of their diet throughout the day. Temperature, you want to keep at 72 to 78 degrees. DKH 8 to 12, pH 8.1 to 8.4, and their salinity 1.020 to 1.025. With a sensitive fish like this, you want to take a drip acclimation and do it really slow for them. So whatever your usual time is for a fish, I'd double it for the razorfish. Again, make sure you keep up with your other levels, things like ammonia, nitrates, phosphates. Those spiking can cause this fish to perish very quickly. Now the colors are really cool. As juveniles, they are very dark, almost completely black, but as they become adults, they have more of a gray silver coloration on them. What's even cooler is if you put them in a tank with a lot of greens and yellow macroalgae, their colors will actually change to better camouflage themselves within that algae. That's super sweet. Diet for the razorfish is a carnivore. There are a lot of different things you'll want on hand day one to set yourself up for success on taking care of them. First is live foods. One of the easiest to get is freshwater feeder shrimp. They'll bounce around the tank like crazy. Razorfish is going to be very enticed by that. There's also tiny live brine and mysis shrimp, kind of larvae that you can get. Those would be really good for them to go after. For me, I always like to keep pods in the tank for them. Algae Barn has a ton of variations you can buy. Have those reproduce in the macroalgae that's already in the tank, and your razorfish are going to have food to chase after all throughout the day, just as if they were in the wild. While you are feeding and raising this live food in your tank, you can also try frozen foods that come in the little cubes at times during the day. That way it'll help them get trained to eat that as well. Doesn't always happen, but sometimes, just like mandarin gobies, you have those people that end up training them to eat that instead, and it's awesome. Origin, of course, these aren't a tank-raised fish. They are still catching these in the wild. They're going to come from the Indo-Pacific area. Compatibility is really specific to seahorses, pipefish, and other very docile, peaceful fish. So having a school of shrimp fish should be required just because that is what they're used to in the wild. Helps them feel protected, helps them come out in the tank and be felt a lot safer than they were if it was just one shrimp fish by himself. They're kind of like anthias. They want large groups together, and then you can just tell just overall health is so much better when they're in a school like that. And after that, that's really going to do it for the razorfish. They are definitely an expert level fish, but just imagine how cool it would be to have some dancing around a reef tank filled with macroalgae. It would be a sight to see. If you have any additional questions or experiences you've had with these, please leave it down below. There really isn't much out there on them, so all of our experience together in the comments and on the web helps us all do better in this hobby. Don't forget to like and subscribe, tell your friends and family about us, and don't forget, be safe, stay kind, and I'll see y'all later.